Thanks for joining us for the Afinida Insurance podcast. I have with me today Alyssa Wilcox, one of our insurance experts. We're going to be covering a lot of really general insurance questions that we get, some terminology, maybe some jargon that you don't quite know what it means, maybe a little bit, but not quite what it actually entails. So we're going to cover all of that. If you're a business owner, this is for you. If you're a direct customer looking to learn more about your insurance options, there will also be some great information in here. So we're going to jump right in, Alyssa, with our first question. And this is focused on the direct customer. So if you are somebody who is looking around for a new home insurance policy, car, things like that, this will be a great piece of information for you. So my main question was, and one we get pretty often is, should I package my home and auto insurance with the same carrier?
I think that that's always a great option whenever it's available. For primary reasons, you get a multi-policy discount. So when you have two policies with the same carrier, they give you discounts. Oftentimes your bills are combined into one, so it's sort of one payment that you're managing, and it just makes the policy easier to manage for you in the long run, having one carrier to go to whenever there's an issue. What we're seeing right now in California, especially, other states vary, but some carriers won't even consider your home or auto unless you're going to bring both of the policies to them. So it's a great way to, get discounts and have that better coverage.
Yeah. And simplify your life a little bit too. And I don't have to think about like, oh, I have this policy with this carrier, this policy with this carrier. It's like kind of all in one and just kind of simplifies things.
Yeah, I think a lot of the appeal in working with an agency like ours is that you don't even have to think about who your carrier is. You just know your agent is Alyssa or Victoria, and you go straight to them with the questions.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Can you kind of define a little bit what replacement cost is? Now, I think some people might think like, oh, that's literally just like the money I get to replace this thing, but it's not exactly that simple.
Replacement cost is sort of the best coverage you can get for replacing things of your property. So this would be home, buildings, even sort of the property inside your home. The replacement cost is the cost that it would be to replace that item in full. So with your home, there's wear and tear. Like if it was built in the 70s, obviously it was a lot cheaper the building materials were a lot cheaper back then. So when you're dealing with replacement costs, it factors in things like inflation, which we're of course seeing a lot of, increased cost of materials. So it really just gives you the best, most extensive coverage to replace your property and primarily your home. I think this is where it's the biggest thing, because it won't factor in depreciation, and it gives you the real-time cost to replace it as the same as it was.
Actual cash value, how does that differ from replacement cost?
Right. So the actual cash value does factor in depreciation and wear and tear. So it can result in lower payouts for you to rebuild. So they'll look, okay, your house was built in the 70s and this is the materials they used back then. This is what we're going to pay you for.
Kind of switching gears a little bit on the business side of things. Should I have replacement costs or actual cash value when it comes to property insurance? Because this is a little, homeowners insurance, that kind of is its own thing altogether. But when it comes to property insurance for a business or a commercial property, what's the best practice and course of action there?
I think whenever available, replacement cost is the ideal type of coverage to have. That way, you know that you'll be able to rebuild your building as it currently stands, if there's a future event, and you won't have to worry about going out of pocket for things like upgrades, cost of, labor or material increases. All of those will be factored in with that replacement cost evaluation.
So you have a little bit more of an understanding of what this is actually what I'm actually going to get to be able to get back what I had before.
Yeah, exactly. You know you'll be able to rebuild it and not have to go out of pocket for it.
One more thing on kind of while we're on the same topic around like property value and property insurance. If and you see this a lot, and it kind of is like a weird kind of place to be in, but if you have a business and you have a building or a piece of property that's currently vacant, how do you insure that? And I think that's something maybe that people don't think about, that needs to be insured. Potentially, if you're not housing like your equipment in there or offices or whatever, but like the building itself, if you own it, I mean, there's quite a bit of value to that. So how do you go about that process?
Yeah, if you have a vacant building, you definitely need to inform your carrier that it is vacant and not occupied. If you're not there on a daily basis to maintain the property, to notice if there's been a break-in or a water leak, it can create an opportunity for claims to sort of escalate and become bigger. So there's just a lot more risk with vacant buildings. I think the biggest risk is, people moving in, squatters moving in. I had a client who, similar situation, their building was vacant, squatters moved in, did damage, pulled out a bunch of wiring and things. So vacant buildings are just more susceptible to break-ins and claims, and then you have the added factor of like, if a pipe bursts, no one's there to stop it, and so damage can, if you're not addressing damage when it occurs, it just gets worse and worse.
How does age affect insurance policies as a whole? If I'm young, am I gonna have to pay more for insurance? If once I get older, does that change? Does it change for a business policy versus more, direct individual policies? How does age kind of play into things?
Yeah, I think the two lines of insurance where age is most impactful is health insurance, because, women when they're young and in their reproductive ages require more care, pregnancy, things like that. And then on the flip side, as you get older and age, you require more care. So from a health insurance standpoint, age and your existing health conditions factor into the premium that you're going to pay. The other aspect would be auto insurance. So I don't know if anyone out there has any 16-year-old children that they're adding to their insurance, but as soon as you do, you'll know how drastically age can affect your premiums. As a young driver, you of course don't have the years of experience to build that muscle memory for reaction when you're driving. So, younger drivers are riskier and can increase your premiums. So those are the two that are most impactful in terms of like liability or business insurance. I don't believe age really comes into the underwriting equation. It's more about experience and sort of best practices.
Well, thanks so much for all this info. It was really, really helpful, Alyssa. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Afinida Insurance Podcast. We'll be back next month with another episode, so stay tuned, like this video, and make sure to subscribe to our channel.